The Art of Dumbing Down, and it's by a YouTuber called Dupli.
Dumbing down. The act of making something simpler and easier for people to understand, especially in order to make it more popular. Now, some may see this label as an insult, but if you ask me, it's really a compliment, because in itself, it's acknowledging you're capable of doing quote-unquote better, but you're just choosing not to. And listen, some people don't have that luxury. For example, Lil Pump. He didn't dumb his music down. He was just dumb, and his music reflected that. The sole reason
you leave Pump out of this
is because of accessibility, which
Gucci Gang's a masterpiece.
In this video, how accessible are you supposed to be successful? Is it even necessary? Does accessible mean bad? And why did J. Cole let Nas down?
I think it takes a lot of skill to make something accessible when you have a lot of knowledge on something. I think it's sort of like the concept of writing a short letter is harder than writing a long letter, right? Like the saying, like I'm sorry I wrote you such a long letter, but I didn't have time to write a short one. It is a skill to put things simply.
Your work is brilliant and everybody else just doesn't get it. And
yeah, that's me with my Pokemon Nuzlocke.
Like, this is stupid. This is trash. I'm better than this. Which is a common occurrence in the lyrical miracle community with guys like Hopsin or pretty much any YouTube rapper.
Yeah, I feel like it's a huge in music.
I've been in the back killing every damn track and the rhymes all whack. How the fuck y'all blow?
They somehow always come to the conclusion that the fact that artists
the ill mind of Hopsin,
they're not, is proof that everybody is stupid.
Yeah, no, it's just elitism in music.
Alone, trying really hard for nothing, and nobody knows who you are. What you should be doing is facing the real question. What is that person doing right that you're not? And if the answer doesn't please you, maybe it's time to find a new calling. Now, if making niche experimental stuff is what makes you happy, you have to come to terms with the fact that you're never gonna be at the top. You will never be as popular as all of the dummies that are making this mindless, stupid music. That is the sacrifice you're making. Now, whether or not you think this is a good trade-off really depends on the person. Too many people believe that being an artist gives them the excuse to just create and do nothing else.
That's an easy trap to fall into. I've been there as an artist.
Because unless your sugar daddy is giving you monthly checks, you have to make a living somehow. It's either learning how to market yourself.
It is interesting though.
Failure forever. Choose. If toning yourself down is all it takes to make that next step, do it. If that's what it takes.
It is interesting though, because like classic painters had patrons, right? People who really loved their work, but who paid them so that they could experiment. If you really want to make something unique and prolific, you do need to experiment. But if you want to pay your bills, you should not experiment. This is just from my perspective as a small YouTuber or a moderately successful YouTuber.
If your message and art is so brilliant, it will still push through sooner or later. I mean, look at Kanye with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Yeezus. Like, face facts.
That was after he was so established. So he made these. I don't think this is his artistic vision pushing through and just becoming the mainstream. I think this is him honing a craft over years and years and years, making the pop hits to pay his bills and get rich so that he could afford to take these risks. I mean, they are more experimental albums, and how he got there is where I guess I disagree with this.
Dark Fantasy is me going back and spending 6 dedicated months and kind of piecing together what people liked about me to make an entire bouquet that they loved, that was the most listenable, that was the least challenging. Yeezus and 808s are so much better and stronger.
But listen. On the other hand, just because you're making yourself more accessible doesn't just give you the excuse to put less effort in your work. Quite the contrary, actually. Adapting your unique
that's what I was saying, I guess.
Audience takes a lot of time and effort. The thing I love about Kendrick is that he's capable of making these super conscious lyrical songs, but at the same time, he can successfully pull off a stupid, fun TikTok song without forcing it or trying too hard.
True.
Like on his last album with Silent Hill, he managed to make this track without sacrificing the quality of the album in the slightest. And that's the thing. I think a true artist shouldn't be too stuck up to make a TikTok song.
These are people who are honed in, though.
Politicians' careers rely solely on votes.
This is depressing, though. This is the depressing part of this phenomenon.
Forced to pander to the masses. You don't have the luxury
hate to see that.
of being niche in politics. Everything is about pushing your ideology and agenda on the widest range of people possible.
True.
Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but politicians change their minds all the time just based on majority public opinion. Hillary Clinton wanted to outlaw gay marriage a couple of years ago.
There's two sides to this, right? Politicians change their mind with public opinion because they're supposed to be representing the populace. So I don't really get that mad when politicians change their viewpoints. It's when they go back and don't represent the public opinion again once they win. That's the real problem, right? Because you're supposed to be the voice of the people in a democracy.
It's all about how you can adapt to the current climate. Not only do your politics have to be accessible, but so does your personality.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I'm trying to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
Wow.
You know, sometimes Republicans win just because the liberal candidates are so pretentious and stuck up.
Yeah,
Once people get
you know,
a whiff
they're
of
just
that, you're
marketed
gonna
well.
lose all the truck drivers and construction workers, make no mistake. Republicans are easier to relate.
They don't know who made
That's just
Pokemon
a
Go
fact.
either, though.
Also a big part of their sales pitch. I'm just a common God-fearing American. I love my country just like everybody else. And that's why I plan on deporting every single Mexican in the United States. I'm not just talking out of my ass here. There's a real article back in 2016 that states, quote, over time,
A cold one with Donald. This is such a cursed article title. A cold one with Donald. Nightmare, 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 nightmare.
a real fucking quote, became the agreed upon narrative of Bush's campaign.
I mean, that's true.
Al Gore.
I would have a beer with Bush.
Kerry, which were the liberal candidates.
I think it would be hilarious.
Just weren't desirable barstool neighbors. While Bush could
Yeah, Al Gore's just talking about climate change.
sip a Coors Light with. Actually, the
Ooh.
original state's adjacent to, but that's another example of why you should dumb it down.
Adjacent
What the fuck are
to.
you doing? I genuinely think a large portion of Americans vote.
This is a great
on that
video.
Basis. Like, it's not about whether or not the candidate has good politics. It's about how many times they make you say, "Ah, what a legend."
Is it?
Going viral on pretty much any social media platform, there's always two waves of virality. You have the first wave, which is mainly positive, and you're pretty much reaching your target audience.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have the second wave, which is when you start seeing more and more negative comments. Everything is
This is how I know on my Pokemon channel if a video is doing good. If I start to get a lot of hateful, mean comments on it, I'm like, oh, that video's popping. That video's doing great because they just called me a stupid, tiny, whiny bitch. How small is my dick? Tell me.
When you step outside of that bubble is when you realize someone always has some negative shit to say. Someone
Always.
always hates you for no apparent reason. No matter how hard you're trying or how perfect you think your
Always.
work is. You can't reach everybody. Mr. Beast is the most popular content creator for a reason. His business model is
I would
simple.
love.
He makes
I would pay so much money to be able to review the hidden comments on his YouTube channel. So there are comments that get flagged on YouTube channels, right? And then there are comments that you go held for review section. Let me actually just pull this up. Which is spammy stuff, whatever. I don't know why that isn't. Weird stuff like this. But then you have the hidden comments down here. And if you show these, it says they may contain language that's considered offensive. That's where you get the why do you look so gays. For Mr. Beast videos, I would pay an ungodly sum to be able to just look at his hidden comments.
There's not a single person who ever watched a Mr. Beast video that said, I just don't get it. Because there's nothing to get. The content is super
True.
engaging and entertaining. It's
just about retention.
It's inoffensive. No one really has an opinion. It's always happy and upbeat, wholesome to a degree. There's
Yeah.
nothing to dislike. Pair that up with a high budget and high production value and boom, you have the biggest channel on YouTube.
Boom.
But
You
let's
have a
talk
blown
about
up
more
Lamborghini.
thought-provoking content where you're always bound to piss some people off. I'll be the first to say, Andrew Tate said some profound shit before he got deplatformed. Some. but it was
Did he?
ignorance, which
I don't really know anything about him.
people quote Tate. They don't talk.
All I heard were the sound bites that were just terrible. So that's what I know of him.
Women are objects. Like, it's that side of his
Is this an Andrew Tate guy? Am I watching an Andrew Tate guy video?
entertainment. Does he really believe that? I don't think so, but that shit goes, and he knows it.
Yeah, and he's stealing money from his fans. I don't know, man.
People, and that's how you end up getting deplatformed.
It's a scam artist. Oh, he got clapped there. Is that Andrew Tate? Bow! Oh!
The most extreme case of dumbing down content is, in my opinion, Sneeko, who recently
Sneak. The old Sneeko, huh?
take it from one of his own supporters. Sneeko built an amazing
The only
aesthetic
reason I
and carefully
know.
crafted image and brand for the good part of a decade, just to throw it all down the drain, screaming and angry on live streams for a cheap, quick blow-up. He chunked out all nuance for sensationalism bullshit, attracting a bunch of impressionable morons as fans. And
That's
now
a
he's
tightrope to
destined
walk.
retreat to the grossest platforms filled with the worst type of people and become further radicalized. Hope it was worth it, bro. Sneeko is a prime example of someone who didn't
Yeah.
go about dumbing down the right way. Recently, he chose
That's what happens.
Andrew Tate clone. And even though he claims he's been saying the same thing for years now, the truth is he noticed the trend and jumped on it. And it worked. He pretty much surpassed all of his previous success by being ignorant for a couple of weeks. And now all of a sudden his whole ideology has changed. He's a devout Christian now, even though he was an atheist before. He started smoking cigars for some reason.
I don't care at all about this. You just burn out in the public eye by just saying stupid shit. There's a difference between making beautiful, accessible things that the masses can love and being an outrage marketing.
The problem is accessible content doesn't last.
Well,
If you don't have any art or personality connected to
okay.
your blow up, you're
I was
gonna
gonna say.
perish as quick as you came up. All you are is a novelty at that point, and people are just gonna find someone else when they inevitably get bored of you. You're not irreplaceable. Trust me. Substance lasts. The most successful artists,
No, especially not on
ones who
YouTube.
manage to
You are
find the
not
perfect
irreplaceable.
balance between the two. Substance and accessibility. Anyone leaning too hard on one or the other is destined for an unsuccessful career.
It's a pretty good video. Pretty good thesis.
They don't provide enough value by themselves. That's
Wait.
why most reaction channels don't last.
That's why most reaction channels don't last?
Back in 2013, J. Cole released Let Nas Down, a track in which he talks about how Nas, his idol, hated Cole's single Workout, which later
Rip.
became his biggest hit, mind you. Nas thought Cole was destined to carry on the tradition of hip-hop and hated the song because it was poppy. He hated it because Cole dumbed
man.
himself down, even though it
Nas
meant
had
Cole
a great album, but where's he at now?
Becoming bigger than he ever was.
Not prolific.
Cole was then faced with the
J.
fact
Cole,
that he
prolific.
disappointed his childhood idol, even though he doesn't actually regret releasing the track. He points out how even Nas had pop singles back in the day and justifies why he went mainstream by
You
saying
gotta
he
pay
did
the
it for a
bills.
greater purpose. Quote, "If I can get them to listen outside my car, then I can open the door. Reintroduce them to honesty, show them that they need more. The difference between the Pretenders and the Kendrick Lamars." Now, even though I love this song and it pretty much inspired this video, I have to disagree with Cole here. Because no matter what, there will always be a portion of people who only consume music and media in general passively. Either that's just their preference or maybe they plain just don't
Yeah,
have the
I don't-
capacity to understand.
I don't think there's a problem with that.
It doesn't matter. This expectation that all of a sudden
Passive consumption is totally
start
chill.
Opening, and there's gonna be a switch. Oh my god, something is different. I don't know what happened, but I
People
just
gotta be
don't
entertained.
feel like listening to this Drake anymore. Come on, everybody, let's put on the new Kendrick. That's never gonna happen. The sentiment that someday everybody will appreciate substance is false. The thing a lot of you fail to understand is the majority of people in general use these forms of media to pass the time. And they aren't necessarily looking to have a mind-altering experience like you may be. So whether you like it or not,
This is a great video.
accessibility will always be a factor.
Anyway, subscribe.